Join us. Let's face tomorrow together. ARM. Invested in your tomorrow.
From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Vice President Kashim Shettima to represent the President at the G77 Plus China Leaders Summit, which is holding in Havana, Cuba from September the 15th to 17th, 2023. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo unveils roadmap for his ministry, pledges to drive initiative to make the country Africa's aviation hub. Work with us or leave Borno State, Governor Babagana Zulum again reads the Riot Act to humanitarian organizations working in the state, vows to end IDP's dependence on handouts from the agencies. And the Christian Association of Nigeria in Kaduna State laments impact of banditry, says over 200 churches shut down, 23 pastors killed in the past 4 years in the state.
On business news tonight, the Central Bank of Nigeria denies alleged plans to redenominate the naira to an almost equal level with the United States dollars.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria's Super Eagles to face Saudi Arabia in an international friendly on October 13 in Portugal.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, Senator representing the Federal Capital Territory in the National Assembly, Senator Ireti Kingibe, faults the choice of some mandate secretaries for the FCT, says they are alien to the terrain.
And in international news from London, there are scenes of utter devastation in Libya's eastern city of Derna today after a powerful storm caused 2 dams to burst, sweeping away large parts of the city.
And the Vice President has left for Havana, Cuba, where he will be representing the President at the G77 Plus China Leaders Summit, which will hold from September the 15th to 17th, 2023. A statement by the Director of Information in the Office of the Vice President, Mr. Alushola Abiola, explains that Vice President Kashim Shettima will be joining other world leaders, including Guterres, at the summit to deliberate on development issues facing members, mostly from the global south. They will also discuss the use of science enhancing socio-economic growth of member states. The Vice President is expected to hold bilateral meetings with other world leaders on the sidelines of the meeting to promote Nigeria's trade and investment relations in On the trip are also the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Abubakar Kyari, Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Adamu Lamuwa, among others. Nigeria is a founding member of the G77 group, which was established in 1964 by 77 developing countries. Meanwhile, the Tinubu administration seems poised to redefine the nation's engagement with the international community, and the president's invitation to participate as a guest in the recent G20 meeting in India appears to indicate Nigeria's growing influence on the global stage. The president used the summit to project the nation's economic priorities and forge new partnerships to promote sustainable growth. This next report looks at the impact of Nigeria's participation at the meeting.
President Bola Tinubu was one of the leaders invited to attend the 18th edition of the G20 summit held in New Delhi, India, though Nigeria is not a member of the global body. While the body admitted the African Union as a permanent member, it afforded President Tinubu an opportunity to meet global leaders and fish for foreign direct investment. On the sidelines of the summit, the president participated in two critical meetings: the Nigeria-India Presidential Roundtable and the Nigeria-India Business Conference. For the president, the summit represents perhaps his first significant international outing within the context of investment facilitation, resource mobilization, and building economic partnerships across borders since his assumption of office.
President Tinubu has gone to India in 2 days and secured $14 billion worth of investment pledges, of which we laid it out in detail, exactly what companies were involved, what sectors they're involved in, and how it's going to impact on the Nigerian economy. First of all, they're going to establish Nigerian subsidiaries, number one. And then number two, we were very active about the process of creating a handshake.
Going by the reports from India, it was a fruitful outing for Nigeria, following the attraction of private capital.
We are seeing the foreign investments coming in, which is good. If you look at our foreign investment, direct foreign investments last year, 2022, it was negative. So that means that we had more outflows than inflows. I'm sure you heard of some companies that closed down in Nigeria. So that, of course, those are negatives. But now we want to get positive. We want to see how foreign direct investments would be contributing to the development, to the GDP generally.
What happens on the margin is what is usually most beneficial to the countries, because that's where you meet the key players. And look, President Bola Tinubu has met this player. These are people who can take decisions on the spot. Those people who have been looking forward to cutting out away all protocol and middlemen, and they want to talk directly to the president of the country.
Beyond these meetings, experts want the government to do more to sustain the flow of foreign private equity into the country.
You have 2 million small and medium scale enterprise. You give them a tax holiday. They are able to recruit 2 to 3 persons. That is additional 4 or 6 million Nigerians getting out of poverty because of their earning living wage. So it has to be, the environment has to be conducive.
This is a time to stop wastage. This is time to begin to develop ourselves, to add value. Enough of sending raw materials.
The Indian trip is one of the many that the president will be having over the course of his tenure. And if the outcome of the Indian trip is anything to go by, Nigerians may look forward to a more promising engagement by the Tinubu administration with the international community.
And it appears the nation's aviation industry is set to witness some major changes in the coming days, going by the plans which were unveiled today by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. The minister listed maintenance, repair and overhaul of facilities and aircraft leasing as some of the priorities of the ministry. According to him, the plans also include upgrading the Cat-3 landing systems and the Aerotropolis development in major airports across the country, all with the aim of driving the vision of making Nigeria Africa's aviation hub. Mr. Keyamo rolled out his plans during the 7th edition of the Africa Aviation Summit in Abuja.
In order to attract foreign investors, the government is already looking at the following areas to improve aviation business in Nigeria. Upgrading our infrastructure. For emphasis or elaboration, this includes upgrading the Cat-3 landing system at major airports, construction of the second runway in Abuja, which is about to commence right now, airport improvement programs through concession, and government willingness to partner with companies to turn major airports into Aerotropolis. So we are looking at the aircraft leasing company. It's part of the roadmap. Government welcomes major players in aircraft leasing and head leases to invest in Nigeria, airlines, to provide state-of-the-art aircraft. With the shortage of qualified engineers, the current administration is willing to provide all the necessary support for the establishment of world-class MROs and training organizations. We also look at the area of forex availability. The current administration is aware that one of the setbacks entrepreneurs have suffered in Nigeria in recent years is the fluctuation of foreign exchange and its availability. And then we do apologize, it has affected, most of the airlines that we have bases with, in Nigeria. It's one of the issues we actually went to sort out in the UAE. But this administration is committed to ensuring that forex is readily available to entrepreneurs, and I have directed, that's the president, I'm reading the president's speech, I've directed the Central Bank of Nigeria host quarterly reconciliation meetings with a view to resolve this issue.
To security-related matters, Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State has again read the Riot Act to all UN agencies and humanitarian service providers in the state. He's asking them to either key into the state government's sustainable restoration drive or leave the state, as he's determined to end the IDP's dependence on handouts from the agencies by promoting agricultural value chain production as they resettle in their communities. Professor Zulum made this declaration when he hosted the UN Assistant Secretary General on Solutions for Internal Displacements, Mr. Robert Piper, in Maiduguri, the state capital.
This is the second visit of the UN Assistant Secretary General on Solutions to Internal Displacement, Mr. Piper, to Maiduguri. And according to him, it is to learn the Borno state model of restoration after over a decade of insurgency.
We expect partners.
After listening to Mr. Robert Piper, Professor Zulum makes clear the terms of partnership between the state government and any humanitarian agency willing to operate in the state.
We do not want to perpetuate our people remaining in IDP camps beyond the period of necessity. We will not tolerate any attempt to allow our resettled communities and to continue to make them dependent while we are trying to support them to be on their feet again and rebuild their lives. We will not accept continuing to make them independent instead of supporting them to become self-dependent. We are tired of partners taking out our professionals to Abuja and elsewhere, spending millions in the name of training our staff, particularly on our civil servants, teachers and healthcare providers, while in reality, what they end up doing is moving them from their primary assignments and depleting our already poor staff numbers in this area. We therefore expect all partners to work with us in the design and delivery of services in the state. Any partner that is not willing to work with us to ensure that our people do not only survive, but live with dignity and ready to support with what it takes to give them hope, that they and their children can achieve their highest potential, can leave the state.
The UN delegation then heads to the Northeast Development Commission headquarters to further discussions on the new approach to partnership with the state of the Northeast.
We came to Borno to see, firstly, how we can learn from what has been done so far, and secondly, how we can support the state government in their very strong commitment. And we had very good discussions today together also with the Managing Director, with His Excellency the Governor, who seems very committed to finding pathways for these people to be settled, to go home, to be integrated into their communities, to be resettled somewhere else. So we're here to learn and we're here to support.
The governor acknowledges the contributions of the United Nations and its agencies during the insurgency, but insists that funds must be channeled towards rebuilding communities and villages destroyed by Boko Haram.
In part two, after the break, Christian Association of Nigeria in Kaduna State laments impact of banditry in the state in the past 4 years. Plus, River State Election Petition Tribunal reserves judgment in petition filed by the APC governorship candidate, Mr. Toyeko, against the election of Governor Siminalayi Fubara of the People's Democratic Party. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.
Hello, this is Premium Pension. How can we help?
Our experts work behind the scenes, enabling our members grow wealth to secure a premium tomorrow. We see your hard work and we make your money work hard for you. We are growing with you in commitment and service. Leveraging technology to meet your demands. Secure your future and pay for the next generation. Embracing diversity with firm roots across the 36 states of Nigeria and the FCT. Premium Pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
Cowbell Pedia has been showcasing the smartest kids from around the country.
And now, Cowbell Pedia is back. With me, Linda Ejiofor Suleiman, as your new host.
And me, Ebuka Obi Uchendu, as the quizmaster. With 14 weeks of pure genius, featuring the best of the best 132 students.
Plus, new and exciting subject areas.
For more information, visit cowbellpedia.tv.
Cowbellpedia. So good.
So smart.
Discover Lipton's flavorful and balanced taste. We pick fine quality tea leaves from selected tea gardens around the world. To give you Lipton Yellow Label's flavorful and balanced taste in every sip.
Repair and recover with Astamin, a blend of amino acids and multivitamins.
Take it from me, the mind-blowing way to do things is the Glow LTE advanced way. When you stream, it's like you're in the drama itself. When you make calls, you reach where others can't. Cookie! Doing business is like running Wall Street from your street. And when you play,
I did beat the guy. We'll see about that.
It's like traveling the world without moving an inch.
Is that Toby in your room?
You can download in the blink of an eye in 4K.
Go, go.
And when you go for your dreams, it's like running with the strength of 3 nations behind you.
Glow LTE Advanced, the power of 3 data networks in one. Get a Glow SIM or dial *301#.
To make it here, you're gonna need a different type of energy. That gang energy that starts from your chest. Why wait? Dominate. Go win bets. Even when the power's out, still knocking their lights out. Living with no how-tos, we got the make do's. We're gonna move. Live large energy. Zag Energy Plus Malt. That's our kind of energy.
cavity protection.
Why are we changing our toothpaste?
Because with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, I can be sure your teeth are cavity-free.
When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavity. Colgate is the world's most chosen toothpaste.
Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out!
The new Colgate Mini Pack is now available at just 300 Naira.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima to represent the president at the G77 Plus China Leaders Summit, which is holding in Havana, Cuba from September the 15th to 17th, 2023. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo unveils roadmap for his ministry, pledges to drive initiative to make the country Africa's aviation hub. Work with us or leave Borno State. Governor Babagana Zulum again reads the Rise Act to humanitarian organizations working in the state, vows to end IDP's dependence on handouts from agencies. And Libyan authorities claim at least 6,000 people have died from floods caused by Storm Daniel that hit the country days ago. Talking security. Over 200 churches were shut down and 23 pastors killed as a result of frequent attacks by bandits in some parts of Kaduna State within the past 4 years. These figures were reeled out by the Christian Association of Nigeria in the state. The chairman of CAN in the state, Reverend Joseph Hayab, was speaking during a confidence-building meeting with Christian leaders from the 23 local government areas and the State Commissioner of Police, Musa Garba.
Banditry and terrorism have impacted on communities in Kaduna State in various ways, with hundreds of innocent lives lost and property worth millions of naira destroyed, including places of worship. This is in addition to the huge humanitarian crisis created by thousands of internally displaced persons whose means of livelihood were also disrupted by activities of criminal elements. This meeting between Christian leaders drawn from the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State and the State Commissioner of Police, Musa Garba, is to strengthen relationship and confidence building with the religious groups.
What I'm doing here is being proactive. I'm engaging with you, hearing from you, telling you my own actions, and even appealing to you to give us information. Is there anything being more proactive than this?
Lamenting the devastating effects of banditry on the socio-economic well-being of the people, the Kaduna State chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Joseph Hayab, says the church in the state has gone through difficult times. Other speakers tasked the police commissioner to match his words with action by going after the bandits and also consider sanctioning religious leaders who engage in hate sermons and speeches.
That over 200 churches in Kaduna have been shut down. The Baptists know that they have over 150 of their churches shut down, from Briningwari to Chukun and Kaduna.
Also, we want to also give you a promise that we will watch you putting into action what you have said.
While the attacks often occur in the rural communities as a result of inadequate boots on the ground, the Kaduna State government says it is taking the lead in the protection of lives and properties of citizens with the recruitment of 7,000 youths into the State Vigilance Service.
I believe our Kaduna Vigilance Service will also play a key role in terms of giving them the intelligence they need, as well as increasing the number of boots on ground.
With the assurance by the Commissioner of Police to improve security in Kaduna State, these religious leaders are leaving this meeting with great optimism that the police boss and his colleagues will match their words with action so that those sacked from their ancestral homes by bandits will go back and restart their normal lives.
Meanwhile, human trafficking and migration have been identified as key factors contributing to insecurity and humanitarian crisis in the country. This is according to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, who says that the collaboration of the ministry and that of Interior is key to ending the humanitarian crisis in the country. She stated this during her visit to the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who promised that the Interministerial Committee headed by the two ministries will work towards achieving their agenda.
In terms of humanitarian crisis, there are over 16 million people that are directly or indirectly affected by humanitarian crisis. What are the key drivers of humanitarian crisis? Number one is insecurity. We need to work hand in hand to ensure that we reduce the level of insecurity, which would lead to humanitarian crisis and then lead to poverty, and poverty will further feed back into the insecurity, because when people are poor, they become gullible and they can get involved in just about anything to make ends meet.
You can be sure that the ministry will live up to expectation in terms of giving you support. As a matter of fact, it's not just a one-off thing. We should have a joint interministerial committee to work on critical issues that you raised that has to do with immigration and NAPTIP. They must see each other as complementary, not as competitors. We must be able to harmonize our common positions for the good of the nation. We're not here to compete, we're here to complement, each other.
And to legal matters, the River State Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja has reserved judgment in the petition filed by the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Toyin Cole. Mr. Cole is challenging the victory of Governor Siminalayo Fubara of the People's Democratic Party. Aside from Mr. Cole, the immediate past governor of River State, Mr. Nyesom Wike, was present in court for the day's proceeding, but he refused to speak to journalists on the day's proceedings. The three-member tribunal, led by Justice Cletus Emifonye, adjourned the matter for judgment after the parties adopted their final written addresses and presented their arguments for and against the petition. Mr. Cole had called over 40 witnesses to support his claim that Governor Fubara was not qualified at the time of the election to run for the River State governorship seat. And we're off to our Abuja studios, where Gloria Mozoke is standing by, looking great in green. Gloria?
Many thanks, Millicent. Here in Abuja, we continue with legal matters. Justice Ahmed Mohammed of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered the Director General, Department of State Services and Inspector General of Police to protect the ADC governorship candidate, Mr. Leke Abejide, from any arrest or detention by the Kogi State Governor. Both the DSS and police, as well as Governor Yahaya Bello, were in separate orders barred from inviting, arresting, detaining or threatening the life and property of Mr. Abejide pending the hearing and determination of a suit instituted against them by Mr. Abejide. The restraining orders were issued by the judge while ruling on an ex parte application by the governorship candidate who had sought for enforcement of his fundamental rights to life, dignity of person, personal liberty, fair hearing, peaceful assembly and association. He alleged that since he emerged governorship candidate, he has been threatened with arrest allegedly by the Kogi State Governor. The judge ordered the applicants to serve all processes in respect of the suit on the respondents and subsequently fixed September the 20th for hearing of the substantive suit. To party politics, the campaign train of the African Democratic Congress governorship candidate in Kogi State, Mr. Leke Abejide, is in Kwara State to meet with Kogi State indigenes residents in the state as he seeks their support in the November 11, 2023 governorship election. Addressing the Kogi indigenes, Mr. Abejide, who is a two-term member of the House of Representatives, reaffirms his commitment to transforming Kogi State if elected as the next governor.
Kogi State indigenes in Kwara State are the latest to receive an audience for governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Leke Abejide.
Since the creation of Kwara State, we are in Kwara State.
One after the other, representatives of different groups and organizations take turns to make their demands, including the construction of the Lorin-Kaba Road.
Look at the road from here to Kaba, Okene, to Igalala, that somebody can fly between 6 and 12 o'clock. When we want to go home now, we have to sacrifice the whole day. And I have the belief that we are going to help us through. So whatever contribution we have done to the state where we find ourselves today, Kwara State is our second home.
For the youth and women, implementing programs of economic value is paramount as they express optimism in their electoral value.
It's not just to come and campaign for you here in Kwara. You need our presence in Kogi State come November 11. And by His grace, we are going to be there and you will see us.
If you are voting in Kogi State, come home and vote.
Impressed with the turnout, the ADC governorship candidate makes a commitment, pledging to focus on areas that have direct bearing on the lives of women and young people.
Concerning this road, about 2 or 3 people talk about the road. Even me, for me to go to Ebe, just very short distance, it's always very difficult for me. When I become governor, it's a federal road. But I will not wait for federal government.
The meeting was attended by indigents of Kogi State from across the 21 local government areas who are resident in Kwara State.
But still ahead on the news at 10, the central bank denies alleged plan to redenominate the naira to almost equal to the United States dollar. But that's in business news. Do join us again.
Here's a card we no go give you stress at all. 0 waiting, 0 queue.
First Bank is Petra card.
Here's a card we no go give you wahala. 0 trouble now for you.
First Bank is Petra card.
Tell off the spoiler. Who won't break them? Where you want to see them? Now only you get them. Nothing fit to one. Sharp, sharp, him and swipe they go, you know go away. Veteran card with the sweet body. Veteran card with no the shape messy. We put you first again. First banking veteran card, we put you first again. Generate your virtual card, we put you first again. First banking veteran card, we put you first again. Just generate your virtual card.
Adverts is solving a lot of problems for us. It is centralizing all the information.
Adverts has helped us concerning the preparation of results. Adverts has also helped us to have a database.
The fact that we can analyze data, so I know, children performance according to gender. I can access my financial information, who has paid, who hasn't paid.
I would recommend Adverts to schools, big or small schools.
Use Adverts today.
What are you waiting for? Use Adverts. Come on now.
Visit www.adverts.net/free demo to book a demo.
To give the confidence that only comes from knowing you are fully sorted. To show up for you just when you need a hand. And when retirement comes with all its worries and storms, to ensure we will stand by you and give you the coverage that you deserve. Make the perfect choice. Choose PAL Pensions today.
PAL Pensions, your pal for life.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
Discover Lipton's flavorful and balanced taste. We pick fine quality tea leaves from selected tea gardens around the world to give you Lipton Yellow Label's flavorful and balanced taste in every sip.
Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. A day after the inauguration of mandate secretaries for the Federal Capital Territory, the senator who represents the FCT, Senator Ireti Kingibe, is faulting the appointments. She says it is disturbing that persons who have not lived in the nation's capital and are alien to the terrain have been appointed as mandate secretaries to oversee its development, especially in critical areas. Senator Kingibe spoke at a news conference in Abuja shortly after the Elections Tribunal reaffirmed her election. She, however, promised to partner with the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, in the development of key sectors in the FCT.
I would like to say between 2015 and 2019 and why FCT has not thrived, you cannot bring mandate secretaries from outside FCT and expect them to excel. Mandate secretaries, if they are zoned, they should be found in the FCT. You can find every zone in FCT people who have lived here for several years, who are politicians or bureaucrats in the FCT. That is necessary. I remember I was speaking to the mandate secretary of Agriculture, or one of them, 2016 or 2017. He didn't even know where Kwali was. It's like taking me now to Bayelsa and deciding that because somebody asked that I be given a slot, and then you want to make me a commissioner of anything in Bayelsa, I wouldn't know where to start. By the time I get acquainted with the place, my tenure is finished. So people live in the FCT, and just like everything, you need to know the terrain, you need to know the problems, you need to know to be able to solve them. But the minister is new to the FCT, and maybe he wasn't guided right. But we need to look at that again.
At least 13 states in the northern part of the country may have to prepare to grapple with possible flooding in the next 3 days, and that's according to the Federal Ministry of Environment. In a press statement by the National Flood Early Warning Systems Central Hub in the ministry, the incidents will be due to heavy rainfall from today, September the 13th to 17th, 2023. The states are Kano, Kebbi, Katsina, Niger, Kwara, Zamfara, Jigawa, Gombe, Yobe, Adamawa, Taraba, Bauchi, and Borno. The statement adds that owing to the rise in the water level of rivers, River Benue and River Niger, communities on the banks of rivers Benue and Niger up to Bayelsa State should take precautionary measures to avoid disaster. In other stories, the Minister of Niger Delta Development, Mr. Abubakar Momo, has praised former President Goodluck Jonathan for what he terms his enduring commitment to the nation's development, particularly in Niger Delta region. He was speaking in Abuja at a meeting with the former president. He was accompanied by former Chief of Staff and former Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Mike Ogiadume, to the residence of Dr. Jonathan. Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Gloria. Well, here in Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is promising residents of the state that all ongoing capital projects, including the Red Line Rail and Phase 1 of the 4th Mainland Bridge, will be completed by his administration. Governor Sanwo-Olu was speaking at the swearing-in ceremony of the new commissioners and special advisors at the Adeyemi Bero Auditorium, Alausa, Ikeja, where he asked cabinet members to take their roles seriously and serve in the interest of the people.
This process worked in a very way that it was designed to, a collaborative effort between the executive and the legislature to throw up the best hands that will serve the people of Lagos State. And so therefore the task of the new cabinet is clear. It is to build on the successes of our administration's first 4 years in office. It is to take our people closer and closer to our dream of a greater Lagos. Our second term will be focused on building and completing enduring legacy projects in transportation, in health, in agriculture, that will open more economics and development opportunity for the citizens of our great state. Other giant strides that we're making, apart from real infrastructure, will be, by the grace of God, the completion of Phase 1 of the 4th Mainland Bridge. We're making this commitment, and we're saying it boldly, that we will do the groundbreaking for the 4th Mainland Bridge very soon. This bridge will connect Ikorodu to the Bejuleki axis from Shogetedo and Abramadeso and to take you all the way to Ibeshe in Ikorodu, which will be the first phase. The second phase of it will take you from there all the way on Agriki-Shawo, and it will bust out on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. It will be a total 37-kilometer ring road that will completely change the face of public transportation and vehicular movement in Lagos.
Well, on issues of security and the economy, Governor Mohammed Bago of Niger State says he is determined to diversify the state's economy by harnessing its potential in agriculture, mining and tourism as part of measures to tackle insecurity in the state. He's also giving assurances of more efforts to strengthen security capacity to ensure that the state is free from the grip of bandits and other criminal elements. Governor Bago made the pledge at a news conference in Abuja ahead of the state's first subnational green economy summit.
Niger State government is hosting the first ever subnational green economy summit in response to the global challenges of the environmental degradation, climate change, insecurity, and the growing need for sustainable solutions, where we will be unveiling the Niger State green economy blueprint to guide our development choice of actions. Security wouldn't be an issue. The military, the federal government, the state government were in collaboration, and as you know very well, these things are not things we should discuss in the public. But I can reassure you, Niger is safe. It's safe for investment. We are coming hard on them. We are not negotiating further. We've negotiated enough. We are providing schools and e-learning system to these headmen in the places we are provided as grazing areas. And we have a collaboration with Lagos State Government, Oyo State Government, Ogun State Government, and Kwara State Government that cattle will no longer go to the west. They will terminate in Mokwa local government, Java, and we're going to provide cooling vans and trucks so that we'll process them in Niger State and transship to the south. This is another initiative of our green economy.
Let's now head to the world of business. Here's Joke Rogers.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Millicent. In spite of rising inflation, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it does not plan to introduce a new Naira policy that will crash the dollar exchange rates to 1 Naira 25 kobo per dollar to drive down prices. An official of the CBN who spoke to Channels Television earlier today denied media reports published online, which claims that the financial market regulator was making moves to change the value of the local currency to match the dollar by November this year. According to the CBN, the publication claimed that the move was to make for easier conversion to other major currencies and reverse the tendency for currency substitution. It also alleged that during the transition periods, the existing naira will be referred to as the old naira, while the new would be called the new naira. Staying with the exchange rates, the Association of Capital Market Academics of Nigeria, ACMAN, is advising the government against a complete floating of the naira. The president of ACMAN, Professor Uche Waleke, told a media roundtable in Abuja that a weak economy will not support a complete floating of the local currency. Nevertheless, he commended the policies and achievements of President Tinubu's administration in its first 100 days and asked the federal government to do more to cushion the effects of the removal of fuel subsidy.
The current size of the total package is very... In view of the continued huge chunk of imports from China, we are of the view that the Central Bank of Nigeria should revisit the currency swap arrangement with China to a scale that reduces significantly the dependence on US dollars for imports from China. The reality of the matter is that we can't completely float the naira. Unification of exchange rate is one. Saying you want to completely float the naira and allow market forces to determine the value is another. And that is because we don't have the diversified export base to be able to support a naira float. Unfortunately, we still rely on over 90% of our forex on crude oil. We rely on crude oil sales for over 90% of forex. So until we diversify our export base, which we put here, the volatility in the market will continue. So the point we have made here is that, yes, unification is good, but in terms of naira float, complete naira float is not feasible.
Billionaire businessman and chairman of Girigu Power PLC, Mr. Femi Otedola, has commended President Bola Tinubu for resolving the visa ban and flight suspension imposed by the United Arab Emirates on Nigerians in 2021, which was lifted during the president's visit to the UAE. According to him, the resolution of the impasse between both countries has the potential ability to transform Nigeria's stock market. He adds that the restoration of business connections will also help improve forex inflows into the country, as Middle Eastern investors remain one of the most liquid across the world. Listed financial institution Fidelity Bank PLC says it has completed its acquisition of 100% stake in Union Bank PLC UK, following the approval of the Prudential Regulatory Authority in that country. In a statement sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange Limited, Fidelity Bank explained that the takeover would enable it to expand into 5 African countries. In August 2022, Fidelity Bank PLC entered a binding agreement to acquire 100% equity stake in Union Bank UK PLC, while the Central Bank of Nigeria had issued no objection to the transaction. And the domestic stock market, which closed the midweek trading session in positive territory today, as investors switched from 2 days of profit-taking on the NGX. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. It was a fantastic comeback at the NGX. It was like a competition of some sort, and stocks were on full speed as investors took position in stocks, and that recorded huge dips to profit taking. And this has led the whole share index to rise today by 0.93% and back to the 67,000 level. I'm sure we all know that the banking sector had a big role to play in this. We see the index reversing its 2-day losing streak and clinched a 4.58% gain today. And since UBA announced the interim dividend of over 17 billion naira, investors have been scampering to get a piece of that pie. Dangote Sugar, NASCON, also on the run and helping to prop up the consumer goods counter. And Eterna appears to be eternally down since the start of trade this week. pulling back the oil and gas sector despite the gains in O&O. Now let's see the winners for today. Dangote Sugar on the top of the food chain with a 10% gain. We also see NACO, that's the Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, also pulling a 10% gain in today's trading session. It's all good news all the way. Positive sentiments have returned to the markets, and it's a relief to see the bull poke at the bear this week. Will Ibang signing out.
Meanwhile, it's mostly negative close for the Asian, African and European stock markets, with investors assessing economic data across the region. Here are the closing figures of some major global indexes for Wednesday. That's business news tonight. Back to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Many thanks, Jakar. And to around the world, in 5 Libyan authorities are saying they believe at least 6,000 people have died from floods caused by Storm Daniel that hit days ago. The floods burst 2 dams in the eastern coastal city and swept away homes. Derna, a city hosting about 100,000 people, has been the worst hit. Multi-story buildings on the riverbanks have collapsed. Houses and cars vanished in the raging flood waters. Simon Pusey has more international news from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. There are scenes of utter devastation in Libya's eastern city of Derna today after a powerful storm caused 2 dams to burst, sweeping away large parts of the port city. The internationally recognized government in Tripoli said at least 2,300 people have died, while the Eastern Administration, which controls Derna, said more than 5,300 bodies had been found. Here, video footage showing a helicopter in Libya's Derna landing to take bodies of those killed in the catastrophic storm that hit the country. Thousands are still missing, and at least 34,000 people have been displaced in the flood-hit areas. Some aid has arrived, but with the country struggling under divided political administrations in the east and west, Libya's Prime Minister in Tripoli said they would only accept necessary aid. At a service, Pope Francis expressed his sorrow for Libya's people and prayed for those who have been injured or displaced. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has been speaking after Kim Jong-un's visit, announcing that the North Korean leader will continue his tour with a visit to the city of Vladivostok. Putin also said he had an open agreement with Kim. He said there were opportunities for bilateral military technical cooperation, though he added that Russia would comply with its international obligations. The 2 leaders discussed agriculture, where Russia has something to offer North Korea. Russia says Ukraine has launched 10 missiles and 3 unmanned boats in an attack on the home of its Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. The attack caused a large fire at Sevastopol's shipyard, which left 24 people injured. Moscow-installed Governor Mikhail Razvozhayev claimed most of the weapons were intercepted, but that 2 ships had been damaged. Ukraine has strongly implied Western-supplied cruise missiles were used. Meanwhile, the EU Commission chief, Ursula von der Leyen, says Ukraine will be admitted into the bloc, but not at this moment. In a speech to the EU Parliament that announced few concrete steps on the foreign policy front, Ukraine, she said, must do more before joining the EU. She also restated that the EU's commitment to long-term support for Kyiv, praising the great strides it had made towards joining the EU.
The future of Ukraine is in our union. The future of the Western Balkans is in our union. The future of Moldova is in our union. I know this is not an easy road. Accession is merits-based, and the Commission will always defend this principle. It takes hard work and leadership, but there is already a lot of progress. We have seen the great strides Ukraine has already made since we granted them candidate status. And we've seen the determination of other candidate countries to reform. In a world where some are trying to pick off countries one by one, we cannot afford to leave our fellow Europeans behind.
At least 8 people are now known to have died and dozens have been injured in a huge fire in an apartment block in Vietnam's capital, Hanoi. Some 70 people were rescued from the 9-story building. Local reports put the toll far higher. The fire, which broke out during the night, has been extinguished, but rescue operations are continuing. Authorities in fast-growing Hanoi say many newly built apartments do not meet fire safety regulations. And an Israeli company has demonstrated its electric vertical takeoff and landing, which comes in various sizes. The company turned one of Jerusalem's hospital parking lots into a temporary helipad. In one test, a big eVTOL designed to carry one person took off and flew above Jerusalem before returning to land. A smaller drone then carried a box similar to one that would carry medical supplies. It's hoped drones like these could help transform medical care across the world in the future. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Super Eagles will face Saudi Arabia in an international friendly in the city of Portimao, Portugal, on Friday, October 13. Saudi Arabia's Green Falcons, who play Mali's Eagles at the same venue 4 days later, have never played Nigeria at senior level. The clash comes barely a month before the 3-time African champions set out on the race for a place at the 2026 FIFA World Cup finals with a home game against the Crocodiles of Lesotho. Within the same FIFA window in November, the Eagles will play their second match of the qualification series away to the Warriors of Zimbabwe. England head coach Sarina Wiegman says the women's game feels an urgency to make the world a little bit better. Wiegman expressed sadness that there is still a long way to go in women's football and society in reference to the non-consensual case incident involving Spain forward Jennifer Hermoso and the then Spanish FA president, Luis Rubiales. She expects that professional sportsmen and women can use the platform they have to demand changes.
I think lots of people have spoken up. I think male and female, and I hope we keep doing that. But for us, of course, it always starts with performing. We are here, we're professional football, I'm a professional coach and we have professional footballers, so what we're working on is really performing at the highest level. So we have the visibility and then you have the platform, and especially in the women's game, we feel the urgency that we can use that platform to hopefully make the world a little bit better.
Italy's midfielder Marco Verratti has left PSG to join Qatari side Al Arabi. The Qatar Stars League club have paid €45 million for the 30-year-old, according to a report in the Italian media. Verratti joined PSG in 2012 from his hometown club Pescara. The League One side paid €12 million for the then 19-year-old. Poland have parted ways with coach Fernando Santos following their 2-0 defeat in Albania, which left them struggling to qualify for Euros 2024. Santos, who won Euro 2016 with Portugal, had been in charge since January, succeeding Czesław Michniewicz, who was sacked following Poland's elimination at the 2022 World Cup. The selection of a new manager is now a priority for the board of the Polish Football Association. Poland are 4th in Group E with 6 points from 5 games. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Chris. And the main news again. The Vice President, Kashim Shettima, today left for Havana, Cuba, where he is to represent the president at the G77+ China Leaders Summit, which is holding from September the 15th to 17th, 2023. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has unveiled a roadmap for his ministry and pledges to drive initiative to make the country Africa's aviation hub. And Libyan authorities have claimed that at least 6,000 people have died from floods caused by Storm Daniel that hit the country days ago. And that's news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.